So funny enough, I've yet to try out any Tom Clancy game, anyone with an actual campaign that is. So with Ghost Recon Wildlands being the first entry in the Ghost Recon series, where Ubisoft did take it up a notch and set the game in full open world, where judging from fans, the game was received quite well, a lot more positive than Breakpoint that is, but this is a review 6 years later, which is quite surprising that it's already been that long. Now with the setting being open world, you really do have a lot more freedom and it's way less linear than other entries. I think it's a fairly good aspect because the whole idea of the gameplay is you being ordered to eliminate targets, and there's a lot. These targets are all part of the Santa Blanca drug cartel, who are starting to increasingly take over and now rule multiple areas of the country of Bolivia, where the game is set for the entirety. Now this idea of taking down a drug cartel is being present throughout the whole game, and that's pretty much all you do. The open world setting, it fits quite well and people seem to appreciate that at launch. Most people anyway. And you as a member of the Ghost, the protagonist going by Nomad, you traverse through each taken over region and eliminate the cartel targets one by one. A similar formula was seen in Far Cry 5, however each one has a total of 6 missions rather than just the one, almost like a build up to the finale where the target will be eliminated. Think of it as a GTA heist setup. You might have to collect intel before it, or steal a vehicle, or even interrogate people to learn more, etc. And this was seen in quite a lot of Ubisoft games, even the most recent one, Assassin's Creed Mirage. It makes sense as it feels a lot more realistic and creates a build up to the end mission, making you feel like you're progressively becoming closer rather than it being too easy and simple. As I mentioned, the character you play as goes by Nomad, and you have a lot of flexibility in how you want to make him look, with tons of customization given to you right away. I was quite surprised with how much was already unlocked before you even start playing. Yes, there is some locked clothes and other items where you can gain access to them as you tier up from collecting more XP, but compared to other Ubisoft titles where you have to pretty much pay for most customization, I was quite pleased with this game. And you can edit all the details, like every facial feature. The tactical shooter side is presented quite clearly with lots of accessories like a ton of unlocked masks and headgear, backpacks as well, face paint, patches, etc. And the clothes can be experimented with quite a lot, just making it so unique to you and how you want to create your character, as well as the typical references to other entries which is seen in all the Ubisoft games, like an Assassin's Creed outfit like in Watch Dogs, or the Ezio outfits thrown in newer Assassin's Creed games. That's in here as well. The world setting is giant and I believe was the biggest world Ubisoft had ever created for one of their games at the time, and that was followed on in AC Origins. However, with it being on such a large scale, it can become bare in some areas where there's too much empty space, and with the main goal being to traverse around pretty much every section of the map, and that's one aspect that's really pushed well in this game, the exploration, because it almost forces you to visit every region rather than that just being an optional choice. But as I mentioned, the variety in areas is okay and the landscapes does change as you traverse, but from a larger scale, the town locations and the mission areas can start to feel the same for the most part after a few hours of playing. Not to say that they all look identical, they do change based on the region, but with being tasked with 6 missions in that area and just the pure scale of the map, it can be quite hard for them not to become a bit repetitive. However, the overall landscape and terrain does look really good because the majority of the country is countryside. It's a bit like the Far Cry 5 setting of Hope County, with small towns dotted around. You get to experience diverse terrain like huge mountains in the distance, but also really dense rainforest as you explore other regions. Also large bodies of water with a scatter of islands, and huge plains of farmlands. I enjoyed playing in it and exploring it as I completed each mission, because I know I mentioned it earlier, but having 6 missions in each area of the map, and you visit all those areas, so by the end you really have seen everything on the map. Another thing that I liked was the dynamic weather system, which is really varied in this game, so it's hard to say what weather is the most common. For me, it did seem like it rained a lot, and the next moment it will be sunny, and then there was lots of thunderstorms with torrential rain in the middle of missions, which completely changed the tone of it, and the visuals look incredible for a 6-year-old game, especially in terms of the lighting, and when there was a storm, that's when it really did it justice, because the light reflecting off the wet ground or your character, and even the detail of the rainfall with the wind direction or speed. And the weather of course affects your driving as well, with less control when the ground's wet. The driving mechanics weren't actually too bad and were quite easy to handle than other games. I wouldn't say it felt the most realistic, like the feeling of the vehicle's weight or tension when turning, which games like Mafia or GTA do quite well at. Sometimes that's quite fun though, especially on bikes, because you know you won't crash, and that turning is almost instant. The population density of NPCs walking on the street or cars on the road, for a giant open world like this, it wasn't missed out at any point, and does add add a lot more life to the world, making it way more immersive. Now in terms of the mission design, I would say that's the biggest complaint here for me, and this doesn't mean it made the game not enjoyable at all, because it was, but with the endless amount of targets to take down spread throughout the world, and that being the only set task for the entirety, then the variety in mission design and what you are given to do, it does have to be a bit diverse and different, otherwise it can easily get repetitive for some people. Now for the most part, unfortunately, the level design is quite straightforward and not anything crazy. As I mentioned, the missions leading up to the finale pretty much all follow the same aspect of scanning intel, interrogating a person, or stealing a vehicle, yet the main mission isn't totally different and almost all follow a similar method, simply shooting a target mixed in with a wave of enemies, or defending an area for a period of time, or sometimes you'll escort a person, etc. It just would have been nice to see a bit more variation, especially because that's the whole gameplay formula, and that mixed with the map scale as well. Some may find it repetitive, but then again some might not. It depends on how much you like that sort of gameplay. The variety and freedom is basically all up to you and how you want to approach the mission. Again, a common pattern in the Ubisoft games, and Wildlands does well at that, with all the responsibility on you, from choosing to go stealthily or guns blazing, even to what vehicle you'd like to approach the mission and exit it. You can unlock items like a parachute to jump into a location from above, which was really cool, and that's just a few of the examples, as well as the weapon selection, where there's quite a lot to choose from off the back, but as you progress you can find more from other enemies or unlocked in the tier system. We'd be here for quite a while if I did list every single one, so let's just go through the numbers. At least 23 assault rifles, 8 LMGs, 16 SMGs, 16 snipers, 8 shotguns and 17 handguns, which is quite insane, and that also emphasises the freedom in the missions rather than what you've actually been tasked to do, and as you play you can experiment more and more. The gunplay itself isn't anything unique, but plays well and felt quite smooth and clean when using them, especially in stealth. There's a ton of customization in weapons as well, with lots of attachments to unlock to help make the gun stronger or easier to handle, as the weapons do vary quite a lot, and the recoil and bullet drop off, they do not hold back, so the parts do help a lot. Again, they can be unlocked in the tier system. There's a skill tree system as well, which helps switch up and improve gameplay like usual, with new items like the parachute, but also adding to weapon control, for example, like aiming steadiness. So at first, gunplay may seem a bit unpredictable, but can easily be changed as you progress. Other throwable items like grenades and mines, they can be used in combat and unlocked in the skill tree, emphasising more freedom in the fights. Now I know some people might find it a bit confusing or overwhelming with having an endless amount of weapons to choose and customise, but you can easily play through the whole game with the same base set of guns and simple attachments. But for the most part I did use the same AR, SMG and pistol, which is fine. The customisation does help though if you want something new and fresh after a while. It even carries on in the gun's appearance with paint jobs on not only the base model but the attachments as well. Just so much detail. Now you as a team of the Ghost, you don't play by yourself. Wildlands can be played in co-op with other online players or your friends, and you can take down targets and progress through the story together. Or you can play solo but with an AI squad. Now to see what this game is like as a single player, as that's what I saw as before, the AI isn't too bad. You can order them to assault, which helps a lot when you want to target a certain person or vehicle, like in missions when you're trying to ambush a moving vehicle or defend a person. Then the AI can also switch up gunplay, where you can ping an enemy and sync both of your shots together to take a target down in quick succession, which I found really satisfying even after hours of playing. The AI plays out fairly smooth. Sometimes they can take ages to get into vehicles, but if you drive away they will just teleport, but then that could also take away the immersion slightly. In terms of them defending you, I found them pretty good, and when I did fall down they did revive me and defended me quite quickly, so I didn't have to restart the mission. Overall I didn't experience many bugs with them or annoyances. When performing stealth though, the AI can stand pretty much anywhere and not be spotted, it seems, even if they're right in front of the enemy, which sort of takes away the immersion, as well as because you aren't playing collectively, it's only you who will get spotted. Now I'd lastly like to mention the story of the game, and I did leave it till the end because funny enough it isn't a major part of the game, and it really does focus on the open world freedom rather than having a linear storyline and having a fully fleshed out narrative to the game with, you know, in-depth characters. But as I mentioned, you play as Nomad in the team of Ghost, tasked with eliminating the Santa Blanca drug cartel. Bowman is who works with you, and she's a CIA agent and talks to you as you play through, who pretty much leads the squad and plans out all the missions. So for the most part she's the one who has the most character and does the most, and you could say because Nomad just follows orders and is who we play as, he isn't really a character. And again, this is a common theme in Ubisoft games where the main protagonist either doesn't talk at all or just isn't that that exciting, and the side characters or villains that make it. But for this game it was an exception really, because it was clear that this game isn't story driven. There's only a few cutscenes, most of these being videos about who the target is and how the mission will play out. But these videos for each target aren't to be ignored and are actually really well done, because they add that context and reasoning for why you need to kill them, and Bomad does really well at presenting that. So her character is really good. It gives more of a purpose to play. So that's one example of the other characters or parts of the game improving the story. But the leader of the cartel, El Swengo, who of course is the main antagonist, is also quite good, but just isn't that present that much. Though this could also make him seem a bit more evil and mysterious to some people. It would have been nice to see more though. He does give off this powerful presence, which the game did well at in cutscenes, but also just the fact that he's the one who controls the entire organization and pretty much rules the country. So as you move through each target, you are slowly belittling his power, and it builds up that tension until the very end, which I won't say more about. Overall though, the game really isn't story driven. It was fun to follow as you play, and there's not many complaints other than just it being a bit more present would have been nice. But again, it seems like the game didn't really want to focus on that with the type of game it is. And I believe that's where I end my review of Ghost Recon Wildlands in 2023. I was quite surprised by this game, and I found myself enjoying it more than I thought. The main and almost only aspect of the gameplay being you taking down targets for the whole time. It did seem a bit worrying, that mixed with the huge scale of the world and the story having way less focus. There's a lot of things beforehand that you might be a bit unsure about. In the end, I found the game to be great from what you might just expect on the surface. I definitely recommend it if you are thinking about it, and hopefully this review has let you come to a choice. If you did enjoy or found it helpful, then let me know by tapping that like button down below. And if you enjoy single player video games, then that's what this channel is all about. So you can subscribe to the channel if you'd like to, and there's playlists of series I've done in the description down below. Lastly, if you'd like to support me by becoming a member of the channel and gain access to various perks, then click the join button below, or there'll be a link in the description if it's not there. Thank you for the support and watching until the very end. That was Ghost Recon Wildlands, and bye bye.